Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the weekend preview. We're going to take a bit of a look at the teams ahead of this round. Going to talk a bit of trades. How many trades is too few to lead into these dying stages of the season? Do you want to cut too fine? How many should we have leading into the back half of the season? I want to talk about that. First off with the teams, it's been pretty bruise-free for us, really. I don't think, looking through, there are any notable outs. And really, not too many notable ins. I mean, there's some good ins for some people. You know, the likes of Gary Ablett comes back. Josh Kelly is back into the side. Scotty Selwood's out of the side. Tom Stewart, which we knew. Timmy Taranto is out, but that's for injury, so we already knew that was going to happen. Dane Beams, already knew that. Most of you should have got rid of him anyway. And then a few extended benches. You know, Luke Ryan's on the extended bench. Callan Brown's on the extended bench. So they are probably the main ones, at least from memory. Andy Otten's drop, so obviously going to have to get rid of him again. Probably should have happened a little while ago. Zach Fisher returns. So look, there's a few, I guess, players that will affect a small portion, but none of our absolute big names. I mean, Fife is back, Sandilands is back. A few may be waiting out for Sandy in particular, but I'd imagine most would have got rid of Fife. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory what we do for this stage of the season. We're looking to get to that premium team as quickly as we can, and that draws me to the question of how many trades should we go into the back end of the season with? You know, we don't want to cut ourselves too fine. People talk about you want to have 5 by finals, or you want to have this by, you know, there's all these little rules, and I don't think there's a cut and dry rule. It's not black and white. I just think if you can trade your team to get 22 premiums and still have 4 to 5 trades left, that's fine. Whether that's in round 13 or round 17, I don't think it matters, because what that means is you've got a complete team. That's what we like to talk about, complete team, and you've got 4 to 5 emergency trades. Now, of course, if you get to that stage and there's 9 rounds left as opposed to 5 rounds, you leave yourself a little bit more exposed to copping an injury in those other 4 weeks. Yeah, that's understandable, but that's the risk you take. You'll also get a lot more points because you've had a far better team for 4 weeks longer than the rest of your opponents. So it's a tough line to draw. I think ideally what we want to do is probably have a complete team with 4 or 5 trades left and maybe some really solid bench coverage and perhaps a floating premium across maybe midfield and forward. I know we've got a few options that could work. You might be looking at Mitchy Hibbert and a Jake Lloyd across the mid and back line, just to give you coverage. I think if we can, in essence what I'm saying is if you're going to have 23 or 24 premiums on your field, I think that's ideal. And a backup premium doesn't have to be the absolute cream of the crop, just a guy who's a solid 90 odd average, maybe 95 in the midfield, that's copped an injury or he's been out of form and you can pick him up fairly cheaply. I use Nick Rewell as an example. Some people disagree with that, but I think at 440, yes, he might miss the old game with the injury, but I think he's a pretty good option for our forward line. Is what is going to be a difficult line to really identify premiums. I think he could be very valuable. So there is no golden rule. At the moment, I'm sitting with 8 trades, and I'm going to do 2 more this week. And I don't care. That's what I'm doing. I'm very confident in where I'm heading. 6 trades left. We've still got, what, 7, 8 rounds or whatever it is. Tad risky? Sure. But I feel after that, I'll do 1 more trade. My team will be complete. Might have to scavenge some coins. So I'll probably have 4 trades, 150 odd K in the bank. I'll have a complete team and a very, very good team in my opinion. I think, you know, yes, it's cutting it slightly fine, but I'm comfortable with that. Now, I feel it is important to have good coverage, but you can also, if you haven't had the great start to the season you may have liked, then look, if you finish 10,000th or 18,000th, doesn't really matter. I think if we can take a bit of a punt, which is in my opinion what I'm doing, take a bit of a punt, maybe it pays off, maybe you can break into the top 5,000. So that's what I'll be looking at doing. Some players to take a look at this week from line to line, some fallen premiums. You know, the back line, Hibbert's still reasonably priced. Zach Williams, I think, is not a bad option soon. Hasn't had a great run of form, but I think he is a real deal. In the midfield, there's plenty of options. Sloan, if you think he can get back to his good form, he'll be a great pick in a week or so. Joel Selwood, I think, should be in everyone's team by probably, if he gets up this week, 3 to 4 weeks, depending when he returns to the field. Of course, he'll face a fitness test on Saturday to see if he does get up. The concussion test, to be more precise. Who else did I have on my list? Dane Zorko was another one. And I think they're probably the main ones. Marcus Bontempelli, I should say. I think he's a very good price at the moment. 520 odd, I think. Was back to some good form. So he'll be one of my trade-ins. And I think in the forward line, I mentioned Rewalt. I think Dalhouse is beautifully placed. But the forward line's very tough to pick. I mean, Elliot Yeo, I think he's clearly made himself one of the absolute must-haves. So I would be definitely looking to get him. He's 527. Will probably float around that 500 to 550 mark, I would imagine, for most part of the season. So, as far as players to downgrade to, Lukey Ryan, Declan Mountford, Callum Brown would be another one. Alex Witherland, I may have butchered that name. The young Lion was taking their kickouts and is a very nice user of the ball, 76 on debut, and could be a really handy pickup. Zach Guthrie comes into the Cats lineup. He's very assured with the ball. Could be a position for him in the long term, being a small defender, something the Cats really need. So I think the main two guys you should be looking to get out of your team, which would be fairly popular. Scott Selwood must go. He's actually out of the team anyway, but I would have said that regardless, I think. And Jake Barrett, at least I think Barrett's fairly popular. He's peaked. Mitchy Hannon you could probably offload as well. There's probably a few guys that you're starting to sense have really peaked. So it's probably worth more talking about full and premiums to upgrade to, but there are definitely a few options floating around. So all the best for your week in SuperCoach. It is getting to that stage of the season where there isn't a stack going on in terms of trading. It's pretty simple, really. I mean, you're trading, but it's just the obvious downgrade, upgrade. There's not that real correctional trade stuff happening as much. So all the best. Hopefully you enjoy a good week in SuperCoach. Subscribe to the channel as always. A quick little one. If you've made it this far in the video, I appreciate it. And I'll appreciate your feedback on this one. Thinking about doing a Q&A possibly. So I'm not sure at what stage of the week I would do that or when I would do that. I'll probably talk about this off the top of one of my videos for people who might trail off later in the video and not get to the end. But if you have, give me your feedback on that. I'll be interested to see how much interest there is talking about that and some Q&A, and maybe not limit it to just SuperCoach, maybe football, because at this stage of the season, SuperCoach maybe doesn't have as many questions as it does pre-season. So again, thanks for tuning in. I'll wrap it up, guys. I'll talk to you Monday.